Hey, nice solo, right? Yeah. So what? What do you mean, so what, Caleb? It's a cool solo. It is. Listen, I'm having this conversation with myself right now. It is a very cool solo. Here's my thing. Why the so what? Because if you learn this solo and you only learn it note for note, off a tab or something else, and you don't understand why the solo, then this solo is only as good to you as every time you or a band show up to play Livin Lovin Maid. All right, now the cool thing about this is there's so many features to this solo that can be reapplied to any scenario. You just have to understand how to apply the notes Jimmy Page is playing over the chords that John Paul Jones and John Bonham are laying down. So when you understand that, this solo takes on a much, much, much bigger dimension than just being able to play Livin Lovin Maid by Jimmy Page. So what we want to do is we want to learn this solo first and foremost, all right, and then we want to break apart the elements of the solo and see how you can reapply that in a real life situation. So I guess the first thing we need to do is learn how to play this bad boy. So let's look at two things. Let's look at what the chords are first, and then so the chords meaning what Jimmy Page is playing over the top of. And once we understand that, let's look at what Jimmy Page is actually playing and then see how those two relate. So, very simple, very quick, but there's a lot of stuff to this. So the chords are just D and A. Another D, and then an E. Pretty simple chord progression. So in time now, here's the rhythm. And that's it. So let's take a look at the solo now. All right, we're going to talk about this in numbers so you can get the solo down. But then we're going to have to talk about it in notes because that's how it's going to relate to the chords. So number-wise, let's take our middle finger from the G string on the 9th fret and slide it to the 11th fret. Then we're going to go pointer finger on the 10th fret B, back to the 11th fret G, then back to 10 B again, then up to 12 B. So we have... Now we're going to take that 10B and we're going to bend it a whole step 2 times with 1 pick. Then land back on 10B. So we have. All right, the next part, you're going to take that ring finger straight down on the E string to 12E. 3 whole step bends right there in a row, going from E to F sharp, bending from 12 up to 14. Then bring it right back down to 12E. Pick the 12E again. You're going to go 10 to 9 on E, slide back. All right, so that's... Now we're going to repeat that first section again. Now we're going to have this big chromatic walk up that's going to be both rhythmic and chromatic at the same time. Very cool little phrase here. It's going to be from 5. You're going to take it all the way up to 14, but we're going to switch fingers at 12. I'll show you. The pointer finger can go all the way from 5 to 12, and it's going to go like this. Dead note, live note, dead note, live note, the whole way up on each fret. Once you get to 12, go to the middle finger on 13. Then the ring finger on 14. Go back to 12. No dead note that time. After you hit 14, the dead notes are dead. Back to 12. And then bend 14 a half step. So, and let me go ahead and tell you this first of all. Jimmy Page is probably doing like deadening the note with the left hand. That's one way to do it. And I would recommend anybody doing that. And all you have to do is barely press down and then press. If you press down too far, you're going to get two notes. And if you don't press down hard enough, you're going to get an open string. You don't want that. So you barely just sit that finger on top of it. Now, the way I like to do it, and again, this is about learning from these artists, not necessarily ripping it lick for lick, because the bigger picture here is that we can apply this to our own playing. So I'll just tell you, on my end, I hybrid pick this part. I'll go pick, finger, pick, finger. All right, and you can put a little vibrato on the end of that last note if you want to. All right, so now that's the whole solo. So now let's take a look at what that means. What does that mean to us? How does that apply to our own playing? So I know based on the first part of this lesson that first chord the band is playing as a rhythm is D. Well, I know that the notes in my D chord are D, F sharp, and A. Let's take a look at what Jimmy Page plays. Here's what he does. He slides from an E up to an F sharp. Well, that's moving up to the third of the chord. All right, so that's moving to the third of our D chord. So we're going from E, which is a scale tone. So if you're looking at the D major scale, that's the 2. So he's sliding from the 2 up to the third of the chord. And then he's going to the A twice, which is the 5th of the chord. So it's kind of like outlining like a nice D triad here. Now he's landing on the B, which is not a chord tone. This is going to be the 6th in the chord, which is a nice note to land on. You can hear it, and this is how we're going to learn to apply this in just a second. But we got a 2 to 3. 5, 3, 5, 6. Now what are we doing there? We're bending. We're bending a half step. So that B is going up to C. Well, if I know what a C is, that makes a lot more sense than just thinking, well, I'm bending to the C. The C over the top of that D makes it a D7. So you're getting this nice D7 sound out of the lead guitar when the rhythm is just playing a D triad. So you have. So now let's look at that in a different scenario. Let's actually just go ahead and completely change keys for a second. Let's say we're going to the key of A and we're playing like a blues or a funk or something. So I'm going to solo over that now. So what I'm going to think here is, all right, let's see here. I learned from Jimmy Page that I can slide from the 2 up to the third of the chord, and I'm kind of seeing that this D chord, there's the third, yeah, right there in my middle finger, and there's the 5th right there under my pointer finger. I got that. And then my 6th is right there. So one of the first things that triggers in my brain is, well, this is not over a minor chord. Okay, so if you're playing like a minor sound, like a Thrill Is Gone type of situation, or a minor blues, or anything like it, just anything minor, this is not going to be an application for that because this is not over a minor chord. So take all that into consideration. It is bluesy sounding though, so you can apply it to a blues. Which, what can't you apply to a blues, really? So if I know that I'm going for this kind of major sound, and I know that Jimmy's attacking 2 to 3 here, the third of my D chord, going to 5, going to 6. Well, let me see if I can think of that in A. Well, that would be now that's the exact same lick. So my band is playing A. Okay, well that works. Now listen, that was just a point blank rip-off though. So maybe let's try to be a little more creative. All right, let's look at it from, let's still go to the third first. There's no problem there. But then let's skip that fifth and go grab that sixth. So let's say, Now notice I took one of his later licks, the one that we're going to do is the chromatic, the dead note lick, and I applied it in there some as well. I landed on the fifth, so I'm saying slide up to the third, go to the sixth, dead note, back to the fifth of the chord. Now when I do that, I can go ahead and bend that half step from the 6 up to the 7 and get my flat 7 sound. Oh, I just went back and got 5, came back and got 3, and went back and got 5 again. So, I mean, look what I've got here. Now I can start without the slide if that's still too close to home from the Jimmy Page solo. I can say, I mean, that's acceptable. I hear that and I go, well, now look, clearly I've taken elements out of the Livin Lovin Maid solo, but it doesn't sound like Livin Lovin Maid solo anymore. I've taken what I could learn from that and I've made it my own thing. Very cool. And now you can do things like take concepts and say, okay, well, hang on. So if this is my third, well, nobody says I have to just keep it in that register. I can displace it up an octave. So I can say, all of a sudden, I've got a little quirky sound coming out now, which is kind of cool. All right? Now, another thing that's really important, not just theoretical like harmony to melody situation, or melody to harmony, I should say, but what about the rhythmic ideas? So this is one way that a lot of people, including myself, maybe come up, well, I don't say come up short, but maybe we think of it as a secondary part of soloing, when in fact, nothing sets off your solo better than some crazy added rhythm. So you can sit there and run off a bunch of straight eighth notes all day long and play a slew of crazy legato ideas or whatever, but the moment you put in something rhythmic, well, now that just changes it a little bit. That's what makes people's ears twist a little and goes, hey, wait, what was that a second? That was kind of cool. So the idea of putting this, like, that is the standout moment in that solo, and it's not just because that's the time Jimmy's playing by himself, but it's because that's the time he breaks from that really nice movement. It gets real staccato, and real rhythmic. That is such a cool idea. So now, if we want to use that in our playing, that can be over anything. So that rhythmic ideas are not subject to, like we talked about earlier, major and minor. You can use that over anything you want to. So if I said, I don't have to do it consistent. I don't have to go and that's my line. I can put it in once or twice, or put it in on several times on one note. Why not? It's very cool. It definitely changes up the feel of your solo. So let's look at this now with a little bit of backdrop. I'm just going to use my little looper friend here. I'm going to background, just backdrop a little bit of extra rhythm in here. Let's see what this sounds like. So here's just a couple little ideas I'm going to throw together using some of the elements we've learned from this solo. We're going to use the third, we're going to use the fifth, we're going to target those chord tones, we're going to use the sixth, and we're going to bend it up a half step to that 7 and use that idea. We'll use some of the rhythmic ideas, the dead note to live note thing. And remember, I'm not going to use them exactly like Jimmy did, but you're going to hear that, how we can use his solo and transform it into our own. So I've got this loop laid out here in the key of C. We're just going to rock back and forth between C7 and F7. So the notes I'm going to be targeting now for the C are going to be C, E, G, and B flat. And for F are going to be F, A, C, and E flat. Now I'm going to play other notes in there as well, but those are my target notes to keep me kind of on pace with what I did with Livin Lovin Maid. So let's check it out. So look, I'm just playing around a little bit. There was nothing planned there. I was just trying to think to myself, all right, when Jimmy went, like, what can I conjure up from that? Well, I had a couple good ideas, and I think give me another 30 minutes with that, I could actually come up with a halfway decent solo for you. But the idea is, you just take what you've gotten from Jimmy, tear it apart. I know I sound like a broken record, but this is how to drive the point home. Tear apart his ideas, see what he's doing over what the band is playing. That's the whole thing. It's not just what he's doing. It's what he's doing over what's being played behind him. And use that. Exploit the fool out of that. Go out and play solos all day long that sound like you, but that you learned how to do from someone else. So I hope you enjoyed this. This is a lot of fun for me, and truth be told, this is the way that I've conducted most of my playing over the years. It's by learning from the masters and then applying what you like in their playing into your own playing. Remember, learning the solo is cool, but it's not an end, or at least it shouldn't be. All right, let the solo be what kind of catapults you into finding your own voice, your own sound. If you have any questions or comments about anything, just, list them below. I'll do the best I can to respond. So just keep on picking, and we'll see you next time on Nice Solo. So what? Hey y'all, thanks for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. See you next time.